Khamzat doesn't know what it is when people want to wrestle him. He's only facing guys who's trying to get away from his wrestling. I want to try to get away from his wrestling. We want to him up in his game.
Dricus Du Plessis' coach went from Khamzat Chimaev is going to get destroyed in his own game by Dricus to Khamzat just wet blanketed him very, very quickly. He made some very interesting quotes about Khamzat Chimaev and his fight against Dricus Du Plessis, which I personally think are absolutely insane because he's feeding into the narrative about Khamzat Chimaev is sort of a bad champion for the UFC, which I think is being pushed out a lot due to his inactivity, due to health issues, due to his fight against Dricus Du Plessis in many people's eyes being boring. I'm not somebody, and I will reiterate what I've reiterated on TikTok, so if you have heard me say this before, I apologise. I am not somebody that's going to sit here and say, if you didn't find this fight entertaining, go watch Muay Thai. You just go watch something else so you don't like it. I'm not somebody that's going to get upset if you think this fight's boring. But what I will get annoyed at, narrative about, oh, it's all Khamzat. He just wet blanketed him. He didn't try finish the fight. He didn't try advance the fight. Where was the ground and pound? Where was this? When actually I think more of the blame should be put on Dricus Du Plessis from staying defensive the entire fight. I wouldn't blame both of them individually anyway. I think it takes two to tango. We forget this a lot. I'm somebody that can't stand cage stalling. I'm somebody that could not stand Bautista against Jose Aldo. I'm somebody that could not stand Merab against Jose Aldo. But when it comes to Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, I think the blame is extremely one-sided. And I have no idea why. I don't know why people treat Dricus Du Plessis like a saint coming off this fight. And I don't want to dump on Dricus too much because it was a loss. It was a tough loss. It was 50-44, right? There's no way of getting away from that. It was one-sided. Dricus had nothing for Khamzat. That's the reality of the situation. This is where my take comes in. I actually think Dricus Du Plessis did a good job at defending. He stopped Khamzat from ever advancing properly to his back. He stopped Khamzat from fishing for hooks. I think it was in the fourth round. Again, I've said this point before, but I think it's an important point to mention. The crucifix narrative annoys me because Dricus, while he couldn't get out of the crucifix, it's not easy to keep him there. The one time Khamzat tried to isolate an arm and tried to attack the arm for a Kimura, I think it was in the fourth round, Dricus fully got out of that position. While it's easy for us to say, well, Khamzat should have risked more and he should have attacked more from that position, it's hard when Dricus is defending so well and picking up on opportunities to explode off his back. And in the fifth round, Dricus nearly had Khamzat. Listen, my prediction video was that Dricus will make silly decisions in the grappling department that will let Khamzat Chimaev get some rest time, that will let Khamzat Chimaev take him down. He showed decent initial sprawls, which is insane because Khamzat Chimaev can just power through them essentially, even if you get your hips away. Khamzat's drive, Khamzat's accuracy, it's still too much, right? Dricus timed and knew when Khamzat was shooting in, he just still couldn't stop it, which to me is absolutely insane. I was more intrigued by this fight than I was entertained by it. And I think that's okay. If you look at a fight in boxing, I want to draw the comparison between William Skull and Canelo Alvarez. The fight was very boring, but the majority of the criticism was held and thrown at the loser of that fight because, like Khamzat, Canelo was the one coming forward. Like Khamzat, Canelo was the aggressor. He was the one controlling the fight. And William Skull turned up there to survive, essentially. Not rarely ever throwing, on the back foot, staying defensive, and he didn't get stopped because of it, but he didn't risk anything either. And that to me is what Dricus Du Plessis did against Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think he turned up to survive. Fucking hell, look at them before they met up and fought. Look at the actual announcements from Bruce Buffer when they collide into each other. I think Dricus turned up to win. I think Dricus turned up to out-grapple Khamzat. That's what I think Dricus did do. I don't think Dricus turned up to survive. But I think at some points in the fight, especially after the first round, where I predicted that Khamzat Chimaev wouldn't be gassed out, and I think I knew that I'd just throw Dricus' entire game plan out the window, because I think Dricus was waiting for Khamzat to slow down a lot in this fight. Dricus stayed defensive on the ground. He stayed tight. It's like he was waiting for, right, okay, I just need to pick my moments, pick my pockets, get up to the feet, and hopefully Khamzat will slow down a little bit. You know, stop him from fishing from hooks, stop him from getting my back, and just stay safe on the ground. And ultimately, Dricus stayed defensive throughout the course of 5 rounds. I don't understand why absolutely no criticism, if you found this fight boring, is being thrown at Dricus Du Plessis. Because he stayed defensive the whole fight. It's all well and good saying Khamzat should have finished him. Well, Dricus is no joke on the ground. It's not as easy as saying Khamzat should just finish Dricus. The first part, well, he got into the ground. He got a dominant position. But then, can he get that arm? Can he get a Kimura? Well, he showed that Dricus Du Plessis is very strong from bottom, and he was able to get out of that position instantly when Khamzat attacked it. Dricus also stopped Khamzat from smushing him up against the fence throughout this fight. So actually, Khamzat's most sort of comfortable positions, which is up against the fence, trying to get you back, trying to wrist ride, trying to get the Dagestani handcuff. Those sort of positions is where Khamzat Chimaev excels. He doesn't usually excel in the centre of the octagon. Now, he's still elite there. He's still able to get you in a crucifix and finish you if you're not a good enough grappler. But it's easier said than done for us to be like, whoa, Khamzat should have just tried to advance the fight. Well, Dricus stopped him from doing it. I think people really overreacted about this fight. And if you found this fight boring, that's okay. I'm not going to come on here and shit on you for finding the fight boring. But what I am going to come on here and do is say that, look, who was the guy that lost the fight? Who was the guy on bottom? And who was the guy staying defensive? If Dricus risked more, the reality of this fight is he probably would have got finished by Khamzat. That's the reality. He had nothing for Khamzat on the ground except staying defensive and trying to stay safe. Yeah, that's what Dricus Du Plessis did. Now, I'm not trying to say Dricus again turned up to survive in this fight, but he did stay defensive during the fight. He couldn't get going during the fight. And sometimes guys have styles where they mesh and they just don't mesh well. It takes 2 to tango, and sometimes the guy who's on top can't find the finishing position, and sometimes the guy who's on bottom just has nothing for the guy who's on top, but he can at least stay safe and survive. What Dricus Du Plessis did, even in a crucifix position against Khamzat Chimaev. That's what he did. That's the reality of this fight. Very safe from both of them, but both of them couldn't really advance anything forward. It was kind of it wasn't a stalemate because Khamzat did dominate the fight, but in regards to finishing the fight, it was very much a stalemate, if that kind of makes sense. Brings me to my next point. Is Khamzat Chimaev bad for the sport? No. Stop mourning that we don't have any big stars and then don't cry when you get one, right? Khamzat Chimaev is a huge star. He's a massive name in MMA. Everybody knows Khamzat Chimaev. People who don't watch MMA that I've spoken to know Khamzat. They say, that Khamzat, that Chimaev. They know of him. Now he's a champion, more people probably know of him. If he got a massive finish in the first round over Dricus, yes, more people would have found out about him. Yes, more people would have been more excited for his next fight. Actually, we don't have to have Khamzat Chimaev as the good guy. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to literally be another version of Khabib. Take your minds back to when Khabib was champion. Nice guy, good guy, loved by many, hated by many, and a lot of people turned up just to see if the opponent could make Khabib lose. People will watch Khamzat to see him lose, and that's okay, because people are watching him. We need big stars in this sport. We need big names in this company. And we've got one. So stop mourning. What are you mourning at? He's literally a big star. He's one of the biggest names in MMA without being champion. Now imagine if he goes in there and deals with Fluffy. Now imagine if he goes in there and deals with Rina Derrida. 2 big names in the middleweight division that are getting a lot of hype. Oh, could Rina Derrida be that guy? He's fought at heavyweight before. He's big, good knees in the clinch, dangerous jiu-jitsu. Like, Rina Derrida actually has dangerous jiu-jitsu. Look at Fluffy. Oh man, look what he just did to Dolidze. Dolidze is a big guy and Dolidze is no joke on the ground. Okay, he's not on the level of Khamzat, but he's no joke there. Fluffy Hernandez kind of reminds me of Gegard Mousasi in many different ways. Extremely well-rounded. Jack of all trades, but he's also a master of grappling. Makes him very dangerous for Khamzat. The narrative changes in MMA can change so quickly because this was a 50-50 fight as seen by many people. It was probably the biggest fight of this year because Ilia Topuria and Islam's not happening, because Jones and Aspinall didn't happen. This is probably, except maybe Ilia and Charles, the biggest fight of 2025. Just because it wasn't a close slugfest doesn't mean that, you know, it's terrible for the sport. If anything, it'll be good for the sport, because now, as much as people won't turn up to say, oh, Khamzat's going to destroy this guy, they will at least turn up to see Khamzat lose. This is exactly what they did with Khabib when he beat Conor McGregor. No one's going to watch this guy. The sport's dead. He just hugs. And then, I think his fight with Gaethje sold over 1 million pay-per-view buys. I think his fight with Poirier sold over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So, for those of you saying, I'm not going to watch Khamzat Chimaev fights, I'm not going to watch another one of his fights ever again, I'll see you in his next fight. I'll see you there, because you know full well you will. Even if you don't like him, you're going to watch him because you're going to want to see him lose. I just think there's been a huge overreaction from the MMA community. Sometimes guys' styles don't mesh well. Sometimes it's not always the most entertaining fight. But I do think it was very good from Khamzat, and I do think it was elite from Khamzat. I think it was very impressive and very intriguing. But it's not a fight I'm going to re-watch anytime soon, but I still thought it was very intriguing. Just a fight earlier than this one, everyone was talking about how much of a monster Khamzat is for breaking Robert Whittaker's face, for nearly sending his jaw down his throat, just from squeezing a choke. You know what I mean? The narrative changes in MMA can be insane, because I guarantee by the time Khamzat Chimaev's title run has ended, I think people will be a lot more, that guy was just good though, wasn't he? Great fighter, Khamzat Chimaev. He's a great fighter. I don't think his fight with Dricus was entertaining, but I do think the MMA community has massively overreacted about this fight, because another impressive fight, let's say he goes in there and marauds Fluffy, the narrative will change very quickly. I don't understand that. And people are already saying, this guy's going to fight one time a year, and I understand why you don't trust him, but just chill, because we don't know if that's true yet. He said he already wants to return in Abu Dhabi. UFC 3-2, was it 321, 322? I can't remember. So he already wants to return. So let's just give him some leeway. Let's just give him some breathing space. Let's see how he ends up as champion before we kick off. Let's just see first. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.